Hey trappers, Dale Billingsley here, Billingsley Brand Lures. So I thought I would share with y'all a little bit about myself today. Uh, I've had a request to do that for a video, so I thought today was a good day to do that. A little bit about me. So I started trapping in 1982, trapping rabbits. That's what my dad started me on. My dad and my uncles were all trappers, and my brothers and I all three trapped. There was three of them, or three of us. I'm the oldest and the only one left. My other two brothers have passed away since then. Uh, but anyway, we started trapping rabbits, and then 1984, I started trapping coon, or we started trapping coon, and it was a battle. It was a struggle at first. I'm not gonna lie about it. There wasn't a lot of information out there. Wasn't as many coon back then as what we have now. Back then, if you caught 100 coon a season, you were the cock of the walk. Now, 1,000 is nothing. Guys think that 1,000 coon is such a big deal when 1,000 coon is absolutely nothing. There were guys that were in the 90s, were trapping 2,000 to as high as 5,000 coon a season. Uh, you know, Pareto Hearn was catching 1,000. I was catching 1,000, and we thought we were good. And then we ran into, guys like, oh shoot, can't think of Daryl's last name. Anyway, he used to do all the welding for O'Gorman's, and he was consistently between 2,400 and 37 coon a season, 3,700 a season. And then here comes Mike Anderson, and he pulls out 5,000 in a season, and we're okay. 1,000's not a big deal anymore. We'll just step back here in the corner and talk to ourselves. Kind of a deal. It's like there's a whole nother level here, and we're not even close to it. Uh, them guys are animals, to go kill that many coon. And not just once. I mean, once or twice. Mike, I think, did 5,000 one time. But Daryl was that, he was, 10, 12 years of that consistently, between 2,400 and 3,700 coon a season. And when you meet guys like that, that opens your eyes a lot. So anyway, I started, like I said, started trapping coon in 84. My brothers and I did. And then just kind of progressed from there. Went on to trapping beaver and trying to catch coyotes, when I was a kid, and trying to catch fox. And boy, that was a battle and a struggle in itself. I mean, I've been through everything. It's amazing how much you evolve through the years. And then when it's all said and done, you actually regress and go back to what trapping the way you did when you was a kid. And, because it worked and you were putting up numbers. It's not hard. It's not, I tell guys, all you're doing is trying to catch a dumb animal. And until he shows you that he's carrying 10 more marbles than the rest of them, then you have to go in and do the tighten up on him. Or if you're fur trapping, just pull and move. Go somewhere else where there's easier animals to catch. If it's a have to deal where you have to go in and eliminate, a problem or all of them, then that's a different story. But if you're just fur trapping, leave that one that's giving you fits, just leave him for seed and move on down the road somewhere else. You don't have to have that one. I know it's a pride thing with guys, but I've tipped my hat to a few of them and walked away too, because I don't have the time to fool around trying to catch that one last one that's giving me fits. Like I said, if it's a have to deal, that's a different story. You have to go in there and do that. But if you don't have to, don't fool with it. Just move on. So like I said, trapping coon in 84, started playing around with lures, building lures, or trying to anyway, when I was about 13, 14 years old. I can remember being a freshman in high school and sitting in study hall, and instead of doing my homework like I was supposed to be, I was writing down lure formulas that I wanted to try, coming up with doing different formulas in my head. And knew nothing about them, just trying them. The biggest thing is learning ingredients, learning what they do, how the animals respond to it. If had I spent more time studying my schoolwork instead of studying those things and studying the animals' habits, who knows, I might have been a doctor or a lawyer or something instead of a broke down trapper and a rodeo cowboy like I was. Uh, but I wouldn't trade this life for anything. I mean, it's not a very good living, guys, but it's a hell of a good life. I get to see a lot of things that most people will never ever witness in their life. Uh, and I thank God for that every day. And I've made some amazing friends along the way in this game as well. I've associated with and trapped with some of the best trappers in the world. And to be able to call those guys friends, there ain't a greater feeling in the world than that right there. To go to a convention and be welcome there, and then when the dealer building closes, and know that you can go to their campfire and be welcomed in with open arms, that's a pretty good feeling. And yeah, guys like Johnny Thorpe, who's gone now, and Pete Leggett, and of course Ron Leggett's still here. Jeff Dunlap, Jeff Squires, Charlie Dobbins, when he was alive, was a good friend of mine. The list just goes on and on and on. In fact, I don't even want to try to mention everybody because I know I'll forget somebody, and then somebody's feelings be hurt. But yeah, it's been quite a ride. Been quite a ride. I've had the privilege to trap in 5 other states besides my home state. I've trapped in Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana last year's first trip, Kentucky and Missouri. Learned a tremendous amount. Learned a lot about the animals' habits in those places. It's just a really good life, guys. I have no complaints. It's not an easy life. It's not for everybody. If this is a profession you choose, if this is a profession you choose to do, if you've got a wife, she better be pretty understanding. If you've got a girlfriend, she better be pretty understanding too. Family members, you're going to hear all kinds of stuff about how you can't make it, how you can't survive. You just have to be willing to bend a little bit and don't be afraid to have chicken today and feathers tomorrow kind of deal. There's some pretty lean times in there, but boy, when the times are good, they're good. You'll ride high for a while and have diamonds as big as horse turds when the market's right. But then when that market goes away, you need to be prepared to go on to the next thing. You can't just be a one-trick pony in this deal. You've got to be able to tackle whatever, I've always been a market hunter. Now with the beaver market being the way it is, I'm mad at beaver again. When the coon market was good, of course I was pounding 1,000 to 1,100, 1,200 coon a season. Whatever it took or whatever it takes to pay the bills, that's what you do. Like I said, it's not a glamorous life. It's not an easy life, but it's a hell of a good life. Don Shoemaker called us wood bums, and it's the noblest profession there is. That's the God's honest truth. So anyway, kind of more back to me a little bit. Went through it all. I mean, everything, read everything there was to read, got a hold of everything I could, trying to get information, tried everything there was to try. I remember when I started trapping coyotes, what a fracas that was. That was a disaster. At the time, we had, for a comparable coyote trap was a 1 3/4 Northwoods or the number 2 Victor Square Jaw. That's what I had for coyote traps at the time. The 1 3/4 would hold some coyotes. You'd still lose about 25-30% of them would just walk out of the thing like it wasn't even there. The number 2 Victor Square Jaw was an absolute just piece of junk for coyotes. They'd eat, well, literally they would eat them and shit out a tin can. They were that flimsy. They were a fine fox trap, spectacular mink and muskrat trap, but anything else they just don't hold up. There's too much gap between the base plate and the bottom of the jaws for coon. They get in there and do too much chewing, too much damage. They break a lot of legs. So if you've got any of those, just You know, not saying they won't hold a coyote, but they're not the greatest thing in the world. So then I jumped up to, thought I had to use the number 2 and number 3 jump traps, number 4 jump traps. Well, that thing violently goes off and wrenches to one side, and that spring coming up under the pan like it does when it goes off throws a foot. So that was a disaster. So then I got on to the number 3 and 4 Montgomerys. And with a little work on those, they are a fine coyote trap, especially the dogless. And I've talked about that before in other videos. They're a great coyote trap. You know, and then as the traps evolved, then I evolved with them by learning from other guys and taking in everything I could. And, you know, you can always learn something from somebody. If nothing else, you can always use them as a bad example. You know, this is what you don't want to do. But I can't say that I got a lot of bad information. Some of it just wasn't tried and true. Like, you know, I thought these guys had numbers behind them, and when it come down to it, they actually had tens of coyotes instead of hundreds of coyotes. So then I learned about Craig O'Gorman, and through his teachings, I kind of got on to the teachings of John Ine and Bill Nelson, which I was born and raised in Nelson country. I just lived 5.5 miles from Farmington, Iowa, which is where Bill Nelson lived. And for you younger guys who don't know some of these names, it would pay you to go back through the annals of history into the trapping game and learn their names and learn what they did. Those guys paved the way for us now. So it doesn't hurt anything to go back in history a little bit. I think if guys would step back and look at some of the things that they think is new, they'd find out that all they've done is reinvent the wheel again. That wheel's already been invented, and it's nothing new just because it's new to you. Information's been around for a long, long, long time. So anyway, yeah, go back in the annals of history, do some studying on Herb Lennon, John Ine, Craig O'Gorman, Bill Nelson, and you'll sure learn a lot from those guys if you want to follow them. To where I am today, back in the lure business, was out of it for a few years. I sold the formulas back in 2008. I started selling in 96. Sold those formulas in 2008. Took a little break, had to step away from it all. Was still playing with lure formulas and tweaking them, new formulas to get them where I wanted them, to where they would produce, had them tested across the country. When you buy a bottle of my lure, I guarantee you that it has been tested across the country, north, south, east, and west. It's not just here on my own trap line in my yard like a lot of guys are. Mine are trap line proven. So anyway, 2 years ago, we jumped back in the business again, and here we are, and we're very happy to be here, and we're happy to serve y'all, and we appreciate every one of you that have tried any of my baits and lures. The guys that have had tremendous success with them. We couldn't be happier, So anyway, guys, that's kind of me in a nutshell. I appreciate y'all tuning in to watch. Not a very informative video, but you kind of got a better idea as to who I am and where I started and where I am now. If you would please hit that thumbs up button, hit that notification bell, and that subscribe button. It means so much to me. And I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Until next time, this is Dale Billingsley with another one. Signing out.